Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This time around we are continuing with the Project Blue build series. So what we're going to do, talk through the 3 different flight conditions that I set up on pretty much every single model, get that ready to go, so the model will then be ready for the maiden flight, which of course I will record separately. Right, okay, so the next step is to set up the transmitter. So we've done a little bit of configuration on the transmitter already for the fact that we bound it to the receivers when we set up the power box. But what I want to do now is set up my 3 flight conditions and a few other little bits on the trannies, which I will show you. Right, let's try and find a camera angle that works. I think that's the main bit you want to see right now is the screen. So normally I'll do this with the model turned on. But it's raining outside now, so I can't get the model back out at the moment. So we'll go ahead and set it up and then we'll just check these through, hopefully before we fly it, if not the first time we fly it. So you probably noticed then that there was a transmitter alarm going off and I flicked a switch at the back. And that's because I've already configured, there you go, this switch for the throttle cut. So I'll just show you that quickly now. If I go into linkage menu, throttle cut, you can see that I have it activated at the moment, some switches forward is activated. When it's away, throttle cuts off. And that's really just for safety. I need to go through and do that on all my models, to be honest with you. This first one I've done it on, but I will go back through the others. So when it's towards me, the throttle won't actually work. You see that the arrow's not moving up or down. When it's away, the arrow starts moving. And that's just a case of coming in here, assigning a switch, which I've done, SG switch, setting it. So I've got the on position, so the throttle cut is active when it's towards me, and it's off, so therefore we have throttle when it's away. Pretty straightforward, but definitely recommend you guys do that. The other thing we've done, just as a recap as well, is if we go into system menu, no, beg your pardon, linkage menu, and we look at model type. I originally set this up to a 2 aileron model type, and I did that before I connected to the power box. So that really assigns a separate channel to aileron left and a separate channel to aileron 2, which is on the right. If you don't do that, you can have issues configuring the power box on this particular aircraft. Then in the system type, of course, I've bound each receiver. So I've changed the receiver to dual, from single to dual. And I linked individually, receiver 1, receiver 2, and you can see both the IDs are at the top now as well. So that is pretty much all we've done so far. I think I might come around the other side actually, rather than leaning across. Zoom in a little bit more. There we go. So the first thing I want to do is go ahead and set up my flight conditions. So at the moment you can see I've just set up the model is Big Blue, and I'm on something called condition 1. So I'm going to set condition 1 up to be my normal flight mode. So I'm going to take off, I'm going to land in and do most of my flying in. So to do that, the best way is to go into the aeroplane. Just have a look at condition select. I'm going to first rename this so I don't get confused. And I'll always call my standard condition F3A, and that's just because it's a class aerobatics I used to fly. I know that just means sort of smooth flying. So you can see now at the top, if we back away up, we've just got one condition, F3A, and even on the condition menu I haven't got any other flight conditions. Now the idea here is to set up the first condition and then simply copy it and adjust, copy it again and adjust further. So first off, in the flight condition I want to change the AFR. So we're on the aileron channel at the moment, and you can see that I've got 100 movement both left and right, and there's no exponential at all. So I'm actually going to dial this down. So take movement out, and I'm going to drop that down to 80, both left and right. So you can see you probably missed it, but the bar just moved there down to 80. And I'm going to add a bunch of exponential, otherwise for me personally it'd be too twitchy. Now flight conditions are a personal thing. Somebody else might be watching this and think, oh no, I want it much more sensitive than that, I want it twitchier if you like, or I want it softer. it's down to you, it's down to your style of flying, but this is how I set my models up. So negative 50 is what I'm going for. And you see the lines softened out there on one side. Then on the other side as well, on the right, also negative. And you see it's really smoothed out the line from where we were before. So 80-80 and 50-50. And then I'm going to swap over to the elevator. I've said this on my videos before, but I like my controls to match. So I like having, you know, similar sensitivity on the aileron stick as I do on the elevator, as I do on the rudder. So they all feel similar. So you don't have like a twitchy elevator and a soft aileron, for example. So on the elevator, I'm going to knock this down to just 60. It's a big elevator on the extra. Like so. And then I'm going to dial in again, same 50 on the Expo. We should work out about right. You see that line's completely changed from where we were previously. Then lastly, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do the rudder. I just thought something I may have missed, but I'll come back to that. On the rudder, I'm going to leave it at 100. No, I'm not. I'm going to dial it down a little bit more. I'll tell you why in a minute. And I'm going to dial in 60. Again, very big rudder. I always fly on the rudder, which basically means that whenever I'm flying, I am using the rudder as much as the other control surfaces to keep the model in a straight line, either straight going vertical or straight going horizontal. Every maneuver I pull into, I'll be using the rudder as well. And I don't want you to be able to see the model change directions just because I'm touching the rudder. So I want to be able to dial in a small amount of movement, just steer it correctly, and then a lot more rudder if I need it. So something I just want to go and double check for my own sanity is if I go back to set the different function. Obviously on this model we've got elevator 2 as well as elevator. And I don't think I've paired those correctly at the moment, so I just want to check what's on the elevator 2. No, so that one's setting separately, which isn't ideal to tell you the truth. I think there is a way to actually... No. Right now I'm going to set it the same as the other elevator channel, and then I'll come back to, or I'll put a note in the description as to how to do that properly. It's just escaped my mind at this moment in time. So let's just make it the same right now. Which was 60-60. And then Expo was 50. Okay. Just check we're not missing anything else. No, we're not. It's interesting enough, aileron 2 is disabled, which means getting all the settings of aileron 1. So obviously done something wrong here in grouping these elevator 2 and elevator together. And I can't write them in a minute. So I've got group there. No, I'm sure if you're watching this you probably know, so chuck it in the description, but I'll probably do that, chuck it in the comments, but I'll probably do that beforehand. Okay, so that is basically aileron, elevator and rudder set up for how my style of flying in one flight condition F3A. Now the other thing I want to do as well is I want to set up a dual rate on the rudder. And the reason why I do that is because I like to be able to, no matter what flight condition I'm in, I like to be able to flick a single switch and just get maximum rudder movement. And that's really suits my style of flying for certain knife edge maneuvers, in particular knife edge loop. Now I might be in F3A mode, but I just want full rudder because I'm about to go into knife edge loop to make sure I'm going to be able to get around that loop properly and get out of that loop as well. It's just a habit I've got into. Again, suits my style of flying. So we go into aeroplane, back into dual rate, and we're going to set the rudder. Check what switch that's currently on. I don't want on that switch. I like using SC, which is just off screen for you at the moment, but at the back there anyway. And let's set that. So I like that to be, I believe, off, on. So off towards me and then flick it away to get full rudder. pull it back in. It's a three-way switch, so I've just set both positions 2 and 3 to on. Go back again. I want to enable that. So now when I flick the switch, there you go, it's going, that rate is going on. And then when I go to back to AFR, back to, it's been a while since I've done this, back to rudder, to make sure it's not doing anything at the moment. There you go, so it's working. So you can see I need to set it, so at the moment it's just going to 100 when I enable it, but I want it actually on 100, and I want a fair amount of expo, probably the same amount of expo, just give me full movement. So let's go in here and do -60. Back in here, -60 again. So that's going to be very similar to when that jaw rate's not on, because this is 80-80. What I'll probably be able to do is increase this rate. Again, I want to be able to do that with the actual aircraft on, so just so I make sure I get maximum rudder. Actually, the plane is behind me, so I'm just going to double check that now quickly. There we go. So I've dialed up the jaw rate on the rudder channel to 130, keeping it expo very similar. If I just flick that switch back off, it'll carry on with the flight condition, which is F3A, and dropping that rudder down to 80. So again, no matter what condition I'm in, I'll be able to override it with the jaw rate and just get full rudder movement. So just mean max rudder. Okay, so I'm fairly happy with that. Again, I will fly it and I probably will tweak settings once I've flown it in each condition. But next I want to do is actually copy this condition. So I want to hit the copy key. Before I hit the copy key, do this every time. I want to add a new condition first. Condition 2. That goes here. That gives me a slot to copy into. I then hit copy. And the source is the one I've just set up, and the destination is condition 2. Make sure you get those the right way around, otherwise the blank condition could wipe the condition you've just configured. So we're copying F3A, the one I've just set up, into condition 2, which is blank. We hit copy. Yes, we're sure. Amazing. It's done apparently. And now we're on condition 2. So I want to rename the condition 2, and I'm going to call this one 3D. So this is the condition I'm going to flick into when I want to try a bit of 3D flying. Again, pretty new to 3D, only really been doing, well, practicing for this season, to be honest with you, but something I want to do a lot more of. Now, it's great we now have two conditions which are exactly the same, but we need a way to switch between the conditions. And to do that, we're going to assign a switch. The switch we're going to use is my SA switch, which is top left. There it is. And I'm going to set the switch. So on, off, off. I just need to check what condition we're in. I think they're saying that that's going to be the F3A. Then others are going to be off. So just go back. I could have just tested it then, can I really? Yeah, so there we go. So let me zoom out a little bit. You can see the switch that I'm pushing. So we can see that switch is down. So it's in the on position for this condition, F3A. Flick it up. No, that's the wrong way around. That's the wrong way around because I want it so it's down. Then we go up to 3D. So let's go and see if we can change that quickly. Oh, switch. There we go. Set. That wants to be off on. So let's try that. Let's go back. So actually we can stay there. So switch is down. We're on F3A. We go up. We enable this one that we've selected. Let's go to 3D. At the moment, if we go off, it's just go back to F3A. But I'm going to assign that to another condition in a moment. Actually, I can probably do that now. So let's come back and let's go and copy the next condition. So again, I'm going to add a new condition slot. Condition 3. I'm going to move it down the priorities because we will build up to conditions, F3A, 3D, and then the third one. And I'm going to rename this to, actually let's do the copy first. I don't think I've done that. Copy function, F3A into condition 3, copy. So now all the flight conditions are the same with the exception that they just have different names. Rename condition 3. and I'm going to call this 3D, where's the space, space, and I'm going to call it 3D max. So what this basically means, this condition is going to just be give me everything, give me all the movement on all control surfaces. So 3D is going to be set up for 3D flying, and then this is just give me everything. Might be for particular manoeuvres like Harriers, might decide I want more movement, or just for tumbles, wherever it may be, but just flick into this condition. So go back here, set the switch again, switch, same switch, in my case that's SA, hit the set, and I want to say actually we want to be off, off, on. So again, check it, we're on F3A, went down the bottom, now we're on 3D, and now we're on 3D max. It's as simple as that. Now it is easy to get confused as to your offs and your ons and your ons and your offs and what condition you're in, but just remember, trick there is to line up the switch assignment here, put them in order that you want to activate them. So for me, F3A, 3D, 3D max, and then just go in there and think, well, I'm actually configuring right now the switch settings for the 3D. So I want the 3D to come on when the switch is in the middle. Have a play, get used to it. So now that I've done that, I want to go back into AFR and change some settings. So I've set everything up at F3A. If I flick into 3D, everything's currently staying the same. That's because we've just copied that flight condition, so it shows copied work. So on 3D, on aileron, I'm going to increase the rates here. More movement, let's go right up to 120. Again, I would normally do this with the model on, and I will double check before I fly it, but I know that's about right. I'm going to dial in some more expo, just because we've got some more movement now. Always negative on these Futaba systems. Don't accidentally dial in positive, because you'll make the control surface more sensitive, more twitchy. So now if I flick between the conditions, you can see I didn't change it. So I changed it for everything. Now why is that? Is it because I need to press separate? And I'm just going to wipe out my settings there. Bear with me 1 second. Well, I've just kind of lost that, which isn't very good. Because group's on. Again, where I don't do this all the time, when you set up new models, I forget about that. So let me just go back through that for you and reset the condition here. Let me just make sure that's going to work this time. Yeah, okay. So let's go back to F3A. We said we'd have that at 80. Good job, I've got a good memory. Or is it because I've actually written these down already? Oops. Condition select. No. Commat. AFR. There we go. See, we all make mistakes. Expo. -50, not positive. Jesus, what do I keep tapping there? The wrong button. Right, so that's F3A, 80, 50, 50. Let's put it into 3D now. We've changed to 3D. Let's set 3D. We're going to go 120 on the aileron movement. Still on aileron, double check that. 120, let's make sure we do both directions. Was that be bad? Make sure we definitely dial in some expo. So we're going to go further this time. $65. Right, so we should have, there we go. F3A on ailerons, 80, 80, 50, 50. 3D, 120, 120, 65, 65. And at the moment, I'm going to make 3D max. Obviously, I lost the settings, so I pressed the wrong button. I'm going to make that the same, because I want to actually have the model plugged in for this. So I'm just make that 120. 120 with -65 until I've got a chance to plug the model in, make sure I'm not straining those servos and pushing them too far, because that would be a bad thing. But this is really close enough so I can take it down the field and get it ready for the test fly. Oh, it's painful. there we go. So we've got F3A, 3D and 3D Max currently copy. So that's one control surfaces. Let's go and do the elevator again. So we've got to make sure we go and ungroup it. Go back. That's all right. So set up 3D condition. Currently on 60. I want to go to 100. More movement. And I'll show you this working actually in just a minute, because I can show you the elevator and the rudder working, because that's easy and the model is behind me. Let's put on a bit of extra expo, just an extra 10. Okay, check the switch. F3A 60/50, 160. And again on 3D, I'm just going to 3D Max. I'm just going to copy that setting at the moment. Although we can play with that in a minute when I turn it on. So we'll also put that on 100. Hope this is making sense, guys. If it's not, feel free to add a comment below. If it is, also feel free to add a comment below. I do like reading the comments, and I do reply to all comments as well. So always learning, I'm always learning as well. Right, let's go back. So we've still got that issue with the elevator 2, and make sure that's set up exactly the same. Again, I think I'll have to consult the old manual to work out what's going on there, but you can see that's still one setting up. Annoying. Let's do that. Oh, did we ungroup? Didn't ungroup quick enough, did I, Matt? So let's just put that back to check where we are. F3A 60. 3D. We want to be on 100. I'm probably making this look far more fiddly than it actually is. I'm sure other people have got different ways of doing this. 60, 60, check it. F3A 60/50, 160, 3D Max, again we'll do exactly the same, copy that, 100, 100, 60. That's one that I'll play around with in a minute. And then we've got rudder. Turn off the grouping. Go back to the settings. Don't forget we've got the jaw right, which always overrides. It's still there. Let's flick it onto F3A. Jaw rate still working. 3D Max, jaw rate still working. And 3D, jaw rate still working. So let's go and set up the non-jaw rate, but in the 3D setting. We're going to go for 150. So 100 on movement, like that, and we're going to go to, no, 60's fine on there. Yeah, we'll keep the expo about the same actually. So if we now go to 3D Max and just flick the jaw rate on, we kind of know what max is. So max is 130 with 60, so I'm going to make that match. So I've already tested that and I know what the max extents is on the rudder. 130 and 60. So there we go, show you. F3A 80/60, 3D 160, 3D Max 130 and 60. Rudder switch, obviously nothing to override there because we're already maxed out. But if on 3D, flick the rudder switch, we max out the rates. F3A, flick the rudder switch, we max out the rates. All right, cool. I'm sure I've made that far more confusing than it needs to be. Apologies for that. But hey ho, there we go. Now the other thing I wanted to show you as well, which I set up on all my electric models, before we just go and test that, is the throttle cut, which I think is in linkage. No, we've done throttle cut already. It's the timer. So I have my timer set to be activated based on the throttle stick position, not on a switch. And the reason why I do that, because if it's on a switch, you know, and you're flying along and you put the model down on the equivalent of tick over, which is motor off, your timer's still counting down, which is inaccurate. You know, if you're not using the main motor, realistically you're not drawing lots of power from the batteries. So I have mine so that it just comes on with a couple of clicks, and as soon as I bring the stick back down, it pauses, comes back on, and pauses. And I always have it on a countdown timer. So to do that, I've set the alarm for 5 minutes. Now this is a brand new model, brand new setup, as you know. Never used Stinger before. I've never used 12S 9500 packs before on a plane this size. So I'm just going to go on the side of caution and set for 5 minutes. And then I will probably land before that or land around that and test the batteries. I know I should definitely get 5 minutes out of them with my style of flying, because I don't fly around everywhere on full throttle. I'm mainly flying around half throttle or just above, and then powering up for certain manoeuvres. So let's go back into there. Mode, I always do countdown, not up, because I like to see what's remaining. I've set it to speech and constant, because I like it when it counts down. It's going to tell me 4 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minute, 1 minute, 20 seconds, 19, 18, 17, etc, etc. And then I assign a reset switch. So I always use SH, which is the spring-loaded switch at the back right on the Futaba transmitter. So it's just a two-way switch, but it's sprung-loaded, so it's always in the off position and on, so I can quickly knock it, and then I can reset that timer. Start switch is, like I said, on J3, which is the throttle on my transmitter. To set that, literally just a couple of clicks up, hit the set button, and then make sure you're going the right way around. You're not reversed. So it's green is when it's coming on. You can actually type in the settings there direct, I believe, and that's how it works. So let's go and see that working. Throttle up, throttle off, timer stopped, paused. 1 click up comes on, 1 click up, on. Reset, back right, there we go. Right, let's spin you around and we will test these flight conditions on the elevator and rudder control surfaces. Cheers on. So I've not tried this yet, but if I hold the transmitter just in view, got a finger on the SA switch as well. So F3A is the flight condition. Pull the stick way back. I should get more movement when we flick in. There we go. Much more movement. 3D. Didn't set anything else in 3D Max. And drops back down. And I can feel as well the sensitivity around the middle of the stick is probably about right. We're going to dial that down a little bit for 3D. But we'll try that. And then rudder on F3A, 3D setting, 3D Max, back to F3A, override it with the dual rate, full movement. In 3D Max, override it, full movement. Sorry, that's 3D. In 3D Max, should be no change. There we go. Dial that down a little bit. Yeah, let's do that now. Let's go into airplane, go to AFR. Let's go into elevator 1, and we're on 3D. F3A's got 60. I'm going to make 3D 90. So let's come down. Don't worry about the other one. That's because it's on the other channel. Now I've got a little bit of difference. I think I might just check, see if I can get a bit more movement on 3D Max. I think we're close to it, to be honest with you. Okay, that kind of looks ridiculous, but let me show you what I've done. I've gone to 135 on 3D Max. So 3D Max, 3D, F3A, F3A, 3D, 3D Max. I've checked on the down as well. And what I need to do, obviously, because I've got that issue with the two elevators working separately at the moment, is go to elevator 2. So that's 120, 135. Let's go to elevator 2 and do 120 and 135. Okay, so to me, it still looks like that left elevator's moving slightly, it is slightly further. I need to sort that out. Okay, that's done. So I just tweaked the end points to make sure those elevators are moving the same amount of travel. You can see now that they both do. In both directions. Make sure the rudder doesn't fail as well. So the rudder's not hitting the elevator. So we are actually getting there now. It's Wednesday today. I want to test fly this on Sunday, so if I get time I'll also put the pilot in and you'll get to find out which pilot you guys have chosen. So as a recap, it was either the Extreme Flight pilot or the pilot that's been sprayed up as the Punisher pilot. So we'll do that if we get time, and also if we get time I'll put on the graphics package as well. So for this video, include it, so let's do that now.